Thank you for watching Scary Animal Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications whenever we release new episodes.
Welcome back to Scary Animal Attacks. Today's episode takes us to a place where some of us middle-aged people might find familiar. Kakadu National Park in the Northern Territory of Australia is known for its giant saltwater crocodiles, as well as being the setting for the 1986 smash movie Crocodile Hunter, which was based on a local crocodile hunter, played by Aussie actor Paul Hogan. The national park covers nearly 20,000 square kilometers of estuaries near the sea and slowly sloping southward through floodplains, billabongs, and lowlands to end up in rocky ridges at what is called stone country. The Arnhem Highway cuts through the park from east to west. On the Alligator River's three branches, the combined distance they flow is 250 miles. They start in the aforementioned Stone Country and flow north to the Van Diemen Gulf and into the Timor Sea. As the rivers wind on a map, they tell the user what the terrain is like. A winding series of rivers, like the Alligator Rivers, with their many oxbows and horseshoe bends, indicate that the land is fairly flat and the water is slow-moving, just the perfect place for giant saltwater crocodiles to conceal themselves among murky depths. On March 18, 1987, 63-year-old Seattle tourist Everett Galbraith was taking pictures while visiting Cahills Crossing of the Alligator River. The crossing was an established crossing area for the river that didn't exactly seem like a crossing all the time. The bridge was set at such a low elevation that when the tides rose, it was inundated by somewhere between several inches and several feet of water at high tide. When the tide was low, the river flowed easily under the crossing, but as the high tide rolled in, the water on both sides of the crossing rose. This influx of water up the river can make the crossing unpassable at times, but it wasn't only the water that posed a danger to a vehicle or a person crossing there. As Everett took photos, the people gathered along the bank and listened to warnings from a local uranium miner named Kerry McLaughlin about the legendary giant saltwater crocodile known as Eric. Kerry said they had all better stay well back from the edge, or he might just jump and surprise them and pull them in for a death roll. Kerry and his son were there fishing for barramundi along the Alligator River. From the bank, the crowds of tourists, fishermen, and locals could see the dark outlines of the crocs suddenly appear from nowhere through the light brown water from hundreds of feet away and suddenly reappear merely tens of feet away. Somehow they knew their way around and could pop up through the murky water precisely where they wanted to. As they surfaced, their eyes were already fixed on you, just as they had been when they were further away. The crocs were clearly able to navigate the water regardless of the conditions. There were a group of 6 Americans in total, including Everett, and after listening to and heeding the warning to stay away from the water's edge by Mr. McLaughlin, they all stood perplexed when he and his son decided a way to cross a submerged driving lane back to the other side of the river. They hadn't caught any fish and wanted to try the other side and the luck they might have there. The pair approached the walkway and briefly waded in just a few inches of water and tried to fish, but soon walked in a little deeper and then a little deeper. They discussed if they were sure they wanted to try to cross the river right now, and seemed to agree that there would be no better time later, being emboldened by the beer they had consumed. They could see the dark shapes of the crocodiles as well as everyone else, but decided to cross anyway. By the time one of those huge crocs managed to swim upstream, they would be across. The crossing is longer than it looks. It's nearly 100 yards across the submerged roadway, and with water spilling over it, it's a challenging feat to some people, even when the surge is very low. To add to the difficulty, the crossing deepens a bit toward the middle, and by the time you get there, it might be too deep to continue across, in car or on foot. As the men wiggled and waded their way across the submerged road, the water crept up past their knees a bit and continued to get deeper as they went. Mr. Galbraith yelled out to the men, "Watch out! You got a croc moving below you!" They were unable to touch and decided to swim for a few yards across the roadway. The crocs didn't want to miss a very intriguing opportunity. A few of them submerged into the muddy water about 130 feet away from the 40-year-old father. The son found footing on the other side and immediately waded into the shallow on the far side of the crossing, but Kerry just froze and didn't push toward the shallows with his son. The onlookers along the shore yelled at him to move and get out of the water, but he seemed frozen in fear. Suddenly a croc head, about 3 feet long, popped up right next to him. It had somehow come close from 130 feet away to emerge from the water within about a foot of him, through all of that mud and murkiness in the water. Carrie's son was safely in the shallow area, but knew his dad was in danger. The boy helplessly threw stones at the reptile from the shore, and his father, grasping for the bank, tried to keep the croc at bay with a floating log. Those who were present but couldn't see the location heard a very loud smack. Those who could see the location witnessed the crocodile rapidly close its massive jaws on Carrie's head and in one clean and powerful bite sever his head from his body. The crocodile slowly pulled his body and submerged with it into the murky water below. The National Parks and Wildlife Department sent out a rescue boat within 10 minutes of the attack. The boat searched the water and found the giant crocodile with Carrie's body in its mouth. The officers raised the sights on their rifles and fired into the croc's head. The body of the croc sank toward the bottom and released Carrie's body, but officers are not sure if the shot they fired was lethal. The croc's body never did surface, which typically they do after bloating after death. The crocodile was estimated to be 14 feet in length. Saltwater crocodiles have been on the endangered species list since 1974, even though there are an estimated 10,000 fresh and saltwater crocs in Kakadu. This attack was only the 9th fatal crocodile attack since the animals were placed on the list in 1974. Our second attack happened on January 28th of 2017 at around 4 p.m. A 47-year-old man we'll call Dave was attempting to cross Cahills Crossing with 2 female companions. They were from the local indigenous village called Gunbalanya. There were warning signs all along the bank with pictures of crocodiles and the danger they represented. The 3 people were just past the middle of the river, and the 2 ladies were ahead, safely climbing onto the more shallow aspect of the crossing at this point. Dave was lagging behind a bit, and the ladies were just turning to look at him as he arrived with them, but he was gone. They couldn't see him anywhere, nor had they heard a scream, nor a splash. He simply disappeared from right behind the women without a sound. The women immediately notified authorities, and the hunt for the man-eater was on. The search turned up a 3.5-meter saltwater crocodile found guilty to have attacked Dave, and it was killed. It was guarding his body very aggressively about 2 kilometers downstream from where it attacked him. So why are all the crocodiles gathering right here at Cahills Crossing? It turns out that the concrete barrier that makes up the elevated platform cars drive over is a natural barrier to barramundi migrating up the river to breed. The crocs are there because the breeding barramundi are there, and the crocs are finding humans to be an accessible food source at the crossing as well.
Thank you for watching Scary Animal Attacks. If you like this video, please consider hitting that like button and clicking on the bell icon to keep you notified of our latest video releases. Sharing our video links on your social media might help save a life and spread the fun. As a member of our human network, be careful out there, because you don't want to end up on an episode of Scary Animal Attacks.